down here because I think when you talk about Oklahoma basketball back in the day, it was, I mean, obviously a heated rivalry, and it's somewhat returned to that. You're getting a rivalry game once again. We got a chance to talk with Brian Brinkley in your sports department about just the historical perspective of this game and the fact that football not being played in Bedlam, if it brings a little more energy, more passion, more heat, so to speak, than maybe a typical Oklahoma State basketball game would. What are some of your overall thoughts here as these two rival schools hook up on the court?
Yeah, this might be in terms of like overall team dynamics, the best matchup that we've had in a while in this
Mm-hmm.
rivalry, because it seemed like for a while you would either have like a pretty good OU team and a bad OSU team, or it seems like both these two teams kind of are maybe fringe, have been kind of fringe top 25.
Mm-hmm.
I know OU hasn't quite lived up to what we kind of expected them to be so far this year, but I think they are still kind of figuring each other out. They had a lot of turnover from their roster, and OSU has managed to kind of gel more quickly, it seems like, with their group of guys. So I think this will be, potentially we've had some good finishes recently. Just a couple of years ago, Javian McCollum hit a step back three in overtime to beat OSU in Gallagher-Iba Arena, and so that was a pretty good one. But I don't think either of those teams really lived up to. Neither of them were NCAA tournament teams. So,
Mm-hmm.
both these teams could go to the NCAA tournament. And I think this game will provide a big stepping stone for that, because this is going to be a very quality non-conference win that either one can put on their resume. And I know OSU from last year, they kind of feel the sting of losing that one, because they kind of got their butts handed to them, as Steve Lutz said in his media availability the other day and stuff. So I think they've got some motivation on their side because of that, even though not very many, they don't really have anybody from last year's team other than two guys, but I think they'll be pretty motivated in that aspect. And it sounds like we're going to get a pretty good crowd on hand too. They're playing at the Paycom Center where the Thunder play.
Right.
So I think that this could be a pretty well attended game. Neither team is playing in a conference. Football team is playing conference championship. OSU fans have quickly turned the page to basketball season after their football season and stuff like that. So I think we could get a really good game and a good atmosphere on Saturday here at the Paycom Center. It's something that I'm looking forward to, and I know both these teams and the fan bases are looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, how much of an impact do you think it's going to be that this game is going to be played at the Paycom Center?
Well, it's really neutral,
Yeah.
That'll be probably pretty close to 50-50 split
50-50.
in terms of crimson and orange there at the game, which I think, makes it a little more fun. I mean, you kind of like the on-campus, the home environments and stuff, but now that they don't play each other twice a year, this is kind of the next best thing is to have kind of the neutral feel. And it's in a way, it's kind of like a OU Texas in a way, where you kind of meet in the middle. Oklahoma City's kind of the middle between Norman and Stillwater, and you'll have your people in orange and you'll have your people in red, and it should be a pretty fun atmosphere now that these two programs are seem like they're going to be contending for NCAA tournament berths for the next few years at least. They've got solid coaches there. Porter Moser has been a solid coach for OU, and Steve Lutz is showing that he's making some waves here in Stillwater in his second season with the Cowboys. And not to be lost on it, the women's game should be pretty good too.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, OU is number 9. They were a preseason top 10 team. OSU was also preseason top 25. They're still in the top 25. They haven't really played too strong of a schedule this year, the Cowgirls, but man, they have been scoring some points. They've been both OU, their OSU, their men's and women's basketball teams have been putting up points like crazy. And I was telling this to Brian recently. I was like, if you added up the combined average like points per game scored for a men's and women's team within one school, I was like, OSU's got to be at the top. Like the women have scored like 100+ points in like 5 or 6 games, something like that. So, and Jenny Baranchik's teams, they can score some points too. So we might get some high scoring action in the Paycom Center. It might not be too far off of what a Thunder game looks like. The final score.
I almost think, now that you got me thinking about the combined men's and women's, I think the only school that could trump them is probably LSU.
Yeah. Oh yeah, LSU.
Because
yeah,
9 of 10 games they've scored 100 plus.
Right.
On the women's side, I know the men got blown out by Texas Tech the other day, but I still think that's their only loss this season.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it should be really. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I just didn't know about the LSU men, how they were doing. So that's kind of, LSU, OSU. That's got to be the top 2 highest scoring teams.
No question.
For men's and women's basketball this year.
No question about it. I find an interesting dynamic here as it relates to the fans, and we'll get a coach's standpoint here in a second, because these two fan bases, when it comes to the professional basketball team, they're all in unison. Everybody that goes to the Paycom Center, they all root for the Thunder, but their college allegiances lie elsewhere, obviously, with this game and Bedlam coming up. And I'm like you, I find it awesome that is one of those neutral site games that will be 50-50, that is centrally located, with fans that typically root for different teams moving forward. We got a chance to hear from Cowboys head coach Steve Lutz on the matchup.
Yeah, no questions. I mean, I said it when we had homecoming, right? I mean, last year when I went to homecoming, there was some people that say, "Hey, coach, good luck," blah blah blah. But this year, I mean, you're certainly more noticeable. Is that maybe the word to use, or recognizable? And when you're 9-0 and you're doing well, and there's so much history here of success, and everybody you talk to just talks about, hey, let's get Gallagher Iber Arena rocking again, let's make it rowdy again, all those sorts of things. So when you have some success, people notice, and our fans are awesome. They always speak and say hello and tell you congratulations. And I mean, we're going to be at the crossroads here really soon, right? Where if we continue to have success, the fans are going to have to feel it, because we've said it from day one that, hey, coach, you just got to win. You got to put a good product on the floor. Well, we're winning. We're putting a good product on the floor. So let's see Paycom be full of Cowboys this weekend. Let's have a lot of orange and black in that arena, and let's dominate that arena, and then come back and follow it up next Thursday, and then next Saturday, and then whatever that is, 29th. It's time to fill the arena. It really is.
So this is interesting, because I know you talked a little bit about Porter Moser, and we talked with Brian yesterday of OU just trying to find a little bit of consistency on the hardwood. Do you think that he's on the hot seat at all? Because, I mean, it's hard to think with a 6-3 start and how competitive the SEC is nowadays in basketball that, you might have to start having these conversations maybe.
Well, they were having conversations last year.
Yeah.
And there was a point where the fan base had really kind of turned on him. I would say even half the media had kind of been writing the nail in the coffin for Porter Moser. And it didn't really, I don't get it. I mean, it's to me, when you're making coaching changes, you have to prove that you can bring somebody better in. And I don't know how many better coaches you could bring into OU basketball than Porter Moser. I mean, the man's been to a Final Four, Sweet 16, put Loyola Chicago on the map and everything like that. This is a good coach, and it took him a little bit longer to kind of figure things out. He kind of has a little bit of the older school, develop mentality. Loyola Chicago, you keep guys for 4 years, they become system guys and everything like that. It took him a little while to get his footing in this whole new era of college basketball, which I think a lot of coaches kind of felt that. And the OU basketball resources just weren't as deep as a lot of these other schools. Yeah. And that kind of had one arm behind his back for Porter, that he just didn't have the amount of resources that a lot of these other programs did, and so people were kind of ready to close the Porter Moser chapter last year. And I kept telling people, I was like, look, if you want to fire him, you got to fire him now. Don't give him a chance. Yeah. And what happened? He got hot. The team got hot. They found their footing. They went to the NCAA tournament. And I think that bought him at least an extra year. And just the way, it seemed like he really attacked the off season really well. They've got good talent. It's just about finding consistency, like we talked about with this team. They just, there's times where they put it all together and you're like, wow, That's what
That's a
this
good
team could be.
team.
Right.
Like they dominated Wake Forest, and you're like,
That was
this
the one that
is-
shocked me
okay.
personally.
Yes.
And then just I don't really know where maybe they got a little too high after a game like that, and then they just really let it all down against Arizona State, which in a game that just really did not make any sense at all. It's like watching that one, and the Arizona State looked horrible for the first couple minutes, and Bobby Hurley gets all fed up, and line changes his whole starting lineup out, just all 5 of them, 5 brand new players into the game, like less than 3 minutes in, and all of a sudden they went on like a 17-18 run, and you're like, holy crap, this is, So I couldn't really tell you with this team what to expect on Saturday. I don't quite know. When they're on, they're probably one of the 6 best teams in the SEC.
Right.
When they're off, they're probably bottom 4 in the SEC. So just let's marry that somewhere in the middle, and let's get this, as Mark Dagnall likes to say, let's get this car back on the road, guys.
Right.
That's a big Dagnallism, is getting the car back on the road, and all that stuff. So
For sure.
we have a lot of Dagnallisms